Welcome into the Skinny Podcast. It's the weekly Potpourri edition. I'm Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital sports columnist and editor. Along with Rick Boring, as always, it's presented by Blake the Attorney Maislin. Yeah, we're a day late on this. We understand it, but things happen in people's lives, and so we had to adjust, and we begged for your mercy, I guess, Rick. But we got a bunch to get to.
I did get some text this morning. People were worried about you, or like, did Skinny trip over another tree stand and break his elbows, or what's going on? So everyone's glad to hear that you're doing well and are fully healthy.
Yeah.
It was
more
so on my end this week. So Skinny, we're going to start with the Bengals. And there's a lot to talk about with the Bengals. We'll get into all of the press conference, Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, all of that. But first, I think what everyone, the thing I was asked most about, that people wanted your take on the most, was what did you think of the seats not being cleared off and the massive backup at the gates for Sunday's snowy affair?
Yeah, so I kind of tied that into the game and the Joe Burrow performance itself, kind of all just what a cluster that whole day was. I mean, you actually had people that wanted to come to your crappy team's game, and you couldn't get them in. And then you couldn't accommodate them accordingly. You did the bare minimum. And if that speaks Bengals, that's Bengals in a nutshell. The bare minimum. We did the bare minimum. So it was the the Monday before. The Bengals were coming off the Thanksgiving week game. And so they had they were able to have they called it like an extra practice. So they were able to practice a little bit on that Monday, and they did it in the stadium. And we had snow either that Sunday. Remember, we had snow that weekend a little bit. And it snowed a couple inches. And so we went up to the press box to watch practice that day because it was really cold. And I literally go, golly, are they going to get the snow off the seats before they play the next home game? And somebody said, well, yeah, they don't play for another 2 weeks here. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. Well, then, of course, we had the snowstorm over the weekend. And the first thing I did when I got in the press box, I went and put my stuff down. I usually have a routine of going to get something to drink real quick, coming back. And I kind of looked up. I went, is that snow still on the seats? And somebody goes, yeah, look at my man over in the club section, the one guy with the blower trying to blow the snow off the seats. I'm like, what are we doing?
I mean, the most disrespectful part of this whole situation was the quote the Bengals gave where it said, the walkways were fully cleared off, which was the priority. Our ushers can take care of the seats. Snow, Skinny, there was like 4 inches of snow on these seats. It's iced over and stuff. And you want your ushers who are already freezing with like a little rag to wipe that off or something. Like, what are we talking? That's insane.
If you're a decent human being, you're probably going to tip that usher $10 or $20 for the effort, right? So in addition to you paying whatever fee you're going to pay to go to the game for the exorbitant ticket price and for the overpriced concession fare, now they're going to ask you, hey, you shell out the extra $20 to this guy because we're not going to pay somebody $20 an hour to clean him off ourselves.
Well, also, like, think about the logistics of it. That's going to take a while. Like, it's not just, you don't just wipe 4 inches of snow off a seat real quickly. Now you got to sit there and wait for this guy to do it. And then your seat's completely freezing and wet. And I mean, it's just such an absurd concept that would only happen with the Bengals. And I got so many people saying, I cannot wait to hear what Skinny has to say about this ever since it happened.
Yeah, like I said, that Monday, I'm like, there's snow on the seats. I'm like, yeah, okay, they don't play for a couple. And then, of course, then it snows again, right? And they literally did nothing.
It's incredible.
They did the bare minimum.
The organization in a nutshell. That was the best way to put it. That's who they are.
The other thing is too. So we park in the. You've parked there before for games. We park in the CRG garage. That's where they give us media parking, but also fans park in that garage too. It's a big garage. It's kind of the garage. It's wedged in between the stadiums, for lack of a better term, because you can drive all the way through. That walkway from that garage to where we go into the game, or where people were going to go into the seats, that wasn't cleared off. In fact, a fellow reporter told me, he goes, literally, man, I almost slipped and fell. He goes, I don't know how I caught myself. I caught myself on like an edge of thing. I said, yeah, I was taking real baby steps. I wasn't going to risk anything on that thing. So don't tell me all the walks were cleared.
Yeah, no, I mean, if they're not going to clear off the seats, they're definitely not going to clear off walkways outside of the stadium for you guys.
Yeah, correct. That's a good point.
Especially not for you media losers.
And they probably would tell me that's a city issue because it's a city, whatever.
Oh, of course, yeah. Blame it on the county. Actually, the county's paying for the stadium anyway. Skinny, the other thing that I thought was most interesting this week was the Zach Taylor press conference, and specifically Zach not confirming or denying whether or not he has 2 more years on his deal. He said to ask the front office. Weird situation. what did you make of it, first of all, and what should Zach have said here? I saw a lot of people criticizing him creating more controversy or drama unnecessarily, but I'm also curious, like, what is the right answer from Zach Taylor in this spot?
Yeah, I don't know what would have been so hard to say. Yes, I am signed through 2027. That is a fact. I mean, I don't know why
we
that
do
was
know
hard.
that, right? Like, it is definitely a
No, we don't know that, or we think that. I know in the story that originally cited it, there were no sources cited as saying that contract was done through 2027, but my guess would be it was. I could see, listen, he got a 5-year extension after going to the Super Bowl, understandably so. Then I'm going to guess after the AFC Championship game, his agent wisely went back to the Bengals and said, hey, dude had another good year here. Can we tack another year on to the end of it? And the Bengals, okay, sure, yeah, things are going along smoothly. And so
but not publicizing that is just such a Bengals thing. Like, it's so bizarre too.
Yeah, the thing I don't understand is when you did it after the 2022 AFC Championship game, I know Zach has had his detractors, but it was hard to be a detractor of Zach Taylor at that point after a Super Bowl and a AFC Championship game. Wouldn't you have wanted to announce that you've done that for another year? What's the harm in that? It feels like you were trying to hide it the whole time. And now that, and listen, I've always said that I didn't think he was going to be fired this year because he has another year left on his contract. Well, hell, if he's got 2 more years, he's definitely not going anywhere. And now I can understand why you'd want to be secret about it, but it was weird. So the tay-to-tay with the media members, and we've talked about this for a while as a group, a lot of times Zach, and I feel for Zach in this circumstance a little bit, that he's the public face on all of this. And so when we ask him about, things like this or personnel, and that's a question for Duke or that's a question for the front office, we finally said to ourselves, hey, the next time that gets thrown at us, we have to come back with, and I'll give Mike Petraglia full credit because Mike's the one that asked. Mike's the one that came back at him, so I'm going to give full credit where it's due. But we've talked about this as a group that we have to come back and say, well, we don't get to talk to the front office. And you could tell Zach was really taken aback by that, especially with well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of a funny moment. Almost like, in a way, my read on it, watching Zach, this is all on YouTube, just watching the video back, was like, he almost felt like good about it. I thought, like, looking at him, he was almost kind of like, yeah, I know. Isn't that great? Like, now you see what we're dealing with here a little bit. Like, again, he backs them publicly, but it almost felt like that was a moment for him to kind of get a dig in at them without having to do it himself and kind of pointing it out like, yeah, I know we're dealing with an ass backwards situation here to some extent. Trags too. Trags is a kind of a unique guy, and the way he asks questions is kind of unique. So he was the perfect person to be in that situation. It made the whole standoff kind of dramatic and weird there in that press conference.
He gets a little heated at times.
He always feels like he's a little on edge during the press conferences, which adds a little bit of I don't know if contentiousness is the right word, but definitely some drama.
Yeah, and those of you that hopefully know, he and I do the post-game podcast together, and I think I'm the one that gets more heat on those podcasts than Trags, but I got to give him a lot of credit, man. He said exactly what we talked about saying, of once he throws it back at us, we have to let the public know that we've tried. In fact, we've put in written requests for Duke. I think we're putting another one in to try to talk to Duke, and I just don't understand why they don't make him available unless you're trying to hide something.
Zach Taylor doesn't have any other choice than to support the Bengals front office and say, hey, we're all on the same page. I think they're doing a great job, because like his wagon is hitched to them. They're the ones who believe in him currently and are keeping him employed. It's likely if he loses this job as Bengals head coach, he's not getting another head coaching job in the NFL, at least right away, I wouldn't think. So he doesn't have any other choice. But do you think he really believes that they have the right people in the right jobs and like things are functioning as they should? Do you think he really is confident in that situation, or do you think he finds them to be inept?
No, and I'll tell you why not. I thought one of the more interesting quotes from the other day was where he pointed the finger of blame at himself, and he said, I've got my fingerprints all over this, which, again, I don't think he has final say on personnel. He's obviously got input on personnel. His coaches have input on personnel. I found that to be a little interesting. Like, this isn't much on me. I mean, everybody's blaming Duke Tobin more than they are Zach Taylor. I think most fans are pretty much in lockstep of both of them. But I think if you were to point more, my finger of blame has mostly gone towards Duke. Yeah,
the media has done a good job of shifting that narrative and that blame over the last 2 months of like, hey, this is a Duke Tobin issue. Yes. You guys have all kind of pointed that out and done a good job of painting the narrative of why it is a Duke Tobin issue for the most part. But it also feels like there's no chance of that ever changing.
Yeah, and that's depressing, and that goes back to this. Well, let me give one more point here, and I think this would be Duke Tobin's answer to this if we ever do get to talk to him. Of why do you think, and this is the fulcrum question for him, of why do you think you deserve another chance to build this roster? And that was kind of asked in a weird way towards Zach. One of his answers was, we were in this spot in 2020, and look what we did in 2021 and 2022. Okay, this is a what have you done for me lately business. And you're going to get now a fourth crack at it after missing the playoffs 3 straight times. And in fact, I think we'd all agree the trajectory of this roster is going this way, not that way, right? And so the roster's gotten worse, not better. And you expect us to think that you guys are going to dig back out of this whole? What makes anybody think that that's possible with this current scouting department and personnel department? Just because you did it in 2021 and 2022, you don't get to keep taking a swing at it. I mean, coaches and GMs and baseball managers, they don't get to go, well, I went to the World Series in 1979 and I'm still here managing this club. No, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't.
Paul Dehner wrote a piece for The Athletic about who might stay and who might go in the Bengals organization. And basically, the gist of the article was, if you're a Bengals fan, you should expect them to run it back with everyone in the same positions next year, at least as things currently stand. He acknowledged, we don't have the full picture. If everything blows up the final games of the season, it gets really ugly, maybe things will change, I guess. But for the most part, where things are stand, what he's hearing is there's unlikely to be much change at all. Do you agree with that, first of all? And second of all, it seems like Duke Tobin is the logical answer, the thing that should change, the thing that everyone believes is the real issue right now, and is the sort of the one thing that you can turn right now, the knob you can turn and get a real impact immediately from it. If that's not going to happen, should there be any other type of changes? There
won't be. I think Paul was right. I wrote a column the same day saying if they want to rebuild your trust as a fan, they have to make changes. They're not going to, and he outlined it. Part of this is where the part of Zach's contract being through 2027 was involved. That's one of the main reasons why Zach's probably not going to get fired is He's not going to pay. And I've said this. I've said he wasn't going to pay him not to coach for 1 year. He sure as hell is not going to pay him to not coach for 2 years. You can damn well be guaranteed that. The Al Golden one was, you can't change coordinators again at that spot. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to go 3 straight years with 3 different coordinators and expect an upward tick.
I actually agree with that.
Yeah, no.
I don't think Al Golden should be fired for this.
Yeah, no, I think he laid it out. And then the Duke Tobin one is he might as well be part of the family. I mean, honestly, he's the capo di tutti capi. I mean, it's like a mafia family.
Yeah, so my thing is as much as it seems insane and depressing to hear there's going to be no change, and it absolutely feels like no one's being held accountable for not making the postseason the last few years. I also, if Duke Tobin isn't going to be fired, if you're not going to move on from Duke Tobin, I kind of get where there's not going to be any change, because you're not going to get rid of Al Golden after 1 year. That's just insane, especially with the players that you gave him to work with his first season. He may be terrible. He may stink, and you may have the worst defensive coordinator in all of the NFL, but only giving him 1 year without actual NFL players to work with is an insane move to just turn around and fire the guy. Who's getting that job next, who wants that job next. And
listen, I will say this. They have made him, they have improved since the bye week. I mean, they have. It's not improved.
That's the other part. He has actually shown some progress without having good players. So it would be insane to fire him right away. And with Zach Taylor, as much as you can certainly make the argument that the body of work and the last few years not getting into the playoffs is unacceptable from him, he also didn't have Joe Burrow for most of this season. And there's a clear, not saying it's right, not saying it's enough of an excuse, but if you're looking at it from the Bengals front office perspective and the way they operate, if they were ever going to give a coach another year, it's definitely this year where they didn't have Joe Burrow. They're not going to place that blame on Zach Taylor when he has multiple years on his contract. So if they're not moving on from Duke Tobin, then I kind of get where there's not going to be any changes, and I wouldn't expect them, to be quite honest, as much as that sucks to say.
Yeah, and that goes back to this. This is the be all end all with this. For those that keep wondering, you the media need to hold them accountable and da da da. And I would tell you this: they don't care. They
Right.
don't care what anyone thinks. They just don't care. So I will throw it back at fans. If you want to hold them accountable, then you put your money where your mouth is. Stop paying for tickets. Again, I don't want to tell you what to do with your money, folks. I don't. But
Right.
us in the media are not going to hold them accountable. They're not going to. They don't care. They don't care. What they care about is empty seats. And that's happened a couple of times. And they've made changes because of the empty seats. And that's the only thing that speaks to them is dollars and cents. That's literally it. Again, I know it sucks to have to say, but I like to go to games, and it's what I do in the fall and in the early winter months. And I get you, man. I do. But then don't bitch at anybody else when changes aren't done, because they just don't care. They care about money. That's literally it. That's what they care about. They care about money. They care about winning. They do everything in their power to win by getting more scouts, by getting a legit general manager. And they don't. They think their way is the right way because they've gone to a Super Bowl before. Every time they've gone to the Super Bowl, it's turned into a disaster shortly after that. 81, they went to the playoffs in 82. 83 was a losing record. 84 brought in Sam Weiss in 500. And Sam Weiss goes to the Super Bowl, and he goes to a playoff after. Then came the 90s, which is with a disastrous decade. They don't care. They just don't. So why? And I go back to that. So then why should you as a fan care?
No, and look, here's the thing that really sucks about all of this, and it's what we talked about last week with the college basketball thing. The issue right now is everywhere you turn as a fan, you're just being told you're the issue and you have to change what you're doing to make the sports team that you love work. And it's like, quit telling me I'm the problem. I'm just trying to give you guys my money and enjoy my entertainment dollar watching your team play. And every time I do that, someone tells me I'm the problem with why they're not having success. And it's like, that part of it sucks. I don't want to tell people, quit going to games, quit going to doing your tailgate and hanging out with your family on Sundays if that's what you like to do, because the organization is failing as a result of you doing that. Like that sucks to say too, but you're not wrong with what you're saying. Like, that's the only thing that does speak to the Brown family. And it just feels like we're in a never-ending cycle here, Skinny. I don't see how any of it ever gets better.
No, I don't either. And listen, there'll be a pocket of success here and there. And I think that's why you've seen, and I'm sure we'll get to this, that's why you've seen what looks like a broken Joe Burrow at the moment. Like that Buffalo game totally broke his spirit. I mean, like, I came back for this and the way he played on Sunday. Now, I'm not here to tell you that he can't be remade and reborn to some degree. I believe that can take place, but right now you're seeing a broken dude, and I'm super interested. It's an uninteresting game because it doesn't mean anything, but I'm super interested to see how he plays in a better weather game on Sunday in Miami against a not so good foe that's not going to put up a lot of points because Quinn Ewers is making his first career start. And so you're probably not going to have to score in the 30s to win this game. But that performance on Sunday looked like a dude who just has checked himself out.
Well, and going back to last week, you didn't agree with me, and the YouTube comments certainly didn't agree with me on what I was saying for coming out of his comments from the Ravens game. My point was not to assign blame to say that loss was on Joe Burrow. My point was to say that it's very weird for Joe Burrow in a game in which he throws 2 interceptions at the end of the game and is part of the reason that they lost the game to come out and say those things then. That to me, it's not about he should be blamed for the loss and he shouldn't have said those things. It's about, this is fascinating because Joe Burrow doesn't say those things in a moment like that where he could clearly take ownership of it himself and be the leader that we know him to be. He's Bengalized. He is broken right now. That's what that said to me. And we just saw, I mean, what more evidence do you need of it than the performance he just put on Sunday?
Yeah, just for clarification, you meant the post-game Bills, not post-game Ravens. But
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just want people to be clarified there.
Thank you.
And then to follow that up with the Wednesday one, and then to follow it up with the performance against the Ravens, I mean, it all just adds up into a guy who's totally broken at the moment.
Yes. And, I thought one thing that was interesting was Albert Breer did his mailbag segment and included something about Joe Burrow's comments. And he said that he and Joe have a relationship. They've talked about it. And Joe has told him that he wants to be the, quote, change agent in Cincinnati and that the old Bengals are dead. And Albert Breer said he still believes Joe feels that way. And I don't doubt at all that they've had those conversations. I don't doubt at all that those are things that Joe Burrow has said. But to me, the last 2 weeks, what we've seen from Joe Burrow in those press conferences, I don't know if it's fully gone from him, but it's signaling that he's losing that mentality. He's losing that idea of I'm going to be able to change this myself. He's realizing this thing can't be fixed. This thing can't be changed because that ownership group owns the organization.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. I really do. Now, again, can he maybe with an offseason take a deep breath and go, okay, I'm going to give this old college try again. Hopefully the roster's rebuilt a little bit in the offseason and things will change next year. And that's why I go back to I'm really interested in what it looks like on Sunday. Like, does he have the fire to go play a meaningless game against a bad team on the road and put this all behind him and maybe take that positive foot forward to kind of get himself back together again? I honestly don't know what to expect. I really don't.
He was more upbeat this week when you guys talked to him. He mentioned that he plans on playing for a long time. He plans on playing at a high level for a long time. Those types of things to try to maybe quiet the rumblings that he's going to pull an Andrew Luck and quit on him or request a trade out of Cincinnati or something like that. But people inside the Bengals, at least from what I heard, talking to maybe some people that cover the team and others that were involved in that whole situation, have said that the people inside the organization are trying to play off last week's press conference from Joe Burrow as, well, Joe's just kind of an emo kid. He does this way more often than you guys know about. This is pretty standard for him. No big deal. It's just a standard Wednesday for Joe. He just wasn't feeling well or whatever and decided to talk about it. One, do you buy into that at all? And two, my answer would be like, okay, that's fine if he's like that in his private life and his day-to-day with you guys, but he's never done that publicly that we've seen in a press conference before. So regardless of whether he's like that off camera, this was on camera, and he does things intentionally on camera, and he showed that on camera.
That's the overriding point. Your last point you just made is whatever he does on camera is intentional. It's done with a purpose, and that's where I do think it was alarming.
He said the most important thing to him going forward right now is to be available for the team. That's top of mind for him. He's playing in these meaningless games at the end of the year now. How do you view that? I know we've talked about it a little bit, but this was before they were mathematically eliminated. Now that they are mathematically eliminated, the team looked completely checked out last week. What do you think about him playing these last few weeks out? And also, like, to me, if you're saying you want to be available, I don't care if you're available for these final few weeks. You would be focused on being healthy for next year if you're really worried about being available.
But he also said, I want to play football. It's what I do. I want to play.
Sure, but you want to be available to your organization and be responsible to them. To me, that would be like, okay, I'm not going to worry about my stats the rest of this year. I'm going to hang it up and make sure I'm healthy.
Yeah, I think he just wants to play. It's a game, and he wants to play the game. And I get it. To me, the comments about trying to be available, I have to change my style of play a little bit. I can't extend plays, run around like a crazy man all the time. Got to pick my spots when I have an avenue to get out. When I don't, just throw it away and live to play another day. I think that's the part to me that he hopefully is starting to grasp of, I can't be Superman on every single solitary snap. I got to live to play another play every once in a while.
Any other thoughts here from the Bengals, what came out of the press conferences this week?
No, I just go back to the whole week in a nutshell, from not cleaning off the seats to the snafu of people trying to get into your game. You couldn't get people who wanted to come to that game on that particular god-awful weather day, and you couldn't figure out a way to get them in on time. It just smacks again of they don't care. And why should you as a fan?
All right, let's get into our Pick'em segment. You went 0-2. I went 1-1. We both had picked the Bengals. I just won on the total there. I am 52-46. You are 47-51. The Giants and Bengals both missed on your big teaser that you had last week. Otherwise, you might have hit that. This week we only have one game to pick, but the college football playoff also starts actually tonight as we're recording this on Friday. One game tonight, a couple more on Saturday. But the one game we have for our pick'em is Bengals at Dolphins. Bengals are a 4.5 point favorite. The total is 47.5. What do you like, Skinny?
I don't know. I mean,
it's impossible to predict what they're going to do in this situation
because I don't know how to read them at the moment, and I don't think Quinn Ewers is ready for. I mean, it's a first start for a guy who was taken deeper in the draft than most quarterbacks, right? For an offense that isn't all that great. Devin Achane is really good. He scares me a little bit to where he can pop a big run or two or take a screen pass and go lots of yards. I'll go Bengals 23, Miami 13. I just don't trust Quinn Ewers. I know and listen, hey, the Bengals defense since the bye week, Rick, has given up 20, 19, 14, give up a bunch against the Bills, gave up 30, whatever, 32 there. But honestly, only in this last game, gave up only 17 to Baltimore. The other 7 was a pick 6. So they've kind of done their part for the most part.
Yes, maybe not on 3rd and 15 with the game on the line, but they have held teams to fewer points. I'm thinking the Bengals win this one too, but if they lost by 40, it would not be a surprise with the state of this team right now and state of Joe Burrow's mind. I'm going to say Bengals 27, Dolphins 21, mostly because I think the Dolphins are really bad right now. I'm going to go, so that's Bengals and over for me, your Bengals and under. Do you have a favorite bet this week, Skinny?
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to the college football playoff, and I don't know why. I like their defense. I'm gonna give a slight alternate line here, Rick, because I want to take it over a number.
Okay.
The line is 20.5, so I'm going to buy the point. I'm going to take
JMU.
I'm taking James Madison plus 21.5. I think their defense keeps them in it for a bit.
I think I actually saw it at 21.5 while I was on FanDuel right before we started this podcast. So I'm not sure.
Well, that's what I would bet it at 21.
Okay.
I'll take 21.5.
Okay, so JMU 21.5. You might not even have to move that one if you go to FanDuel for it. I'll go college football playoff too. I don't love any of these games in terms of like feeling like there's a huge edge in them, but Miami plus 3.5, that hook, I think Miami has a good chance to win that game outright. You can stay within a field goal, still win that bet. I'm going to go Miami plus 3.5. I also think that's a decent candidate to put in a teaser if you want to tease it with any other games. Like the one game that intrigues me because everyone is picking against them is Bama. Everyone is saying Bama's going to lose, so I kind of want to just take. I am going to bet Bama. I don't know if I do it my favorite bet of the week, but I like that Bama game right now.
Well, I'm off to a good start today because I had Western Michigan, and as we're doing this, they're up 34-0 at halftime, laying like 3.5. So I feel pretty good about that one. I didn't do much in the second game, the Memphis NC State game, just a little play on Memphis. But I'll take the profits from game number 1 and roll them into Alabama. But I'm going to bet them up to 3.5. So I'm going to cost myself a little vig there, but I'm going to take them up to 3.5.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, Miami is 3.5. So if you do a 6-point teaser, you could get Miami at 9.5 and Bama at 7.5.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
I like that idea.
That's a good one.
All right. Speaking of the college football playoff, what do you think of Ohio State's road with the winner of Miami and Texas A&M in the quarterfinals, followed by a likely matchup with Georgia in the semis?
I just think they're still better than both. I think if Indiana makes it back to the final, I think Ohio State's the national champion again. I just do. To me, their toughest game is if they have to face Oregon again. If Oregon gets on a little bit of a roll here, starting with, if they blister JMU and kind of continue, because they do everything well. They defend the run, they defend the pass, they can run it. The quarterback's getting better and better, and he's a good player, got good receivers. I think they're really good, which makes obviously the Indiana win at Oregon even more impressive to me. But I love what Indiana's done. They've proven everybody that they are a great team, and no one can take that away from them. There's no fluke to this. I just don't see them winning it. I just don't.
I looked into Oregon a little bit more last week after you were talking about taking them as the value pick, at 9-1 odds, I think, to win it all. They do have a pretty nice path. And the Indiana game is obviously a huge rematch potentially, but if Dan Lanning just does a little bit more cocaine this time, I think he'll be fine. Allegedly, like I think they should be able to get through. So I don't know. I like Ohio State to repeat as well. Which out of the first round matchups are you most excited to watch this weekend?
In theory, I want to see if James Madison can hang, but I think it's Oklahoma, Alabama. I agree. The Alabama thing is Oklahoma's been just a weird team. They've had some offensive issues, and everybody's screaming that Bama shouldn't be in. Honestly, I think all 4 of them are great for different reasons. One, the whole Miami kind of sneaking into, for lack of a better term, over Notre Dame, and they deserved it over Notre Dame. I would say they beat them head to head, so they deserved it. But if they get pounded by A&M, it'll be C. They shouldn't have been in. It's going to be the small, the Tulane at Ole Miss and the JMU at Oregon, if they get pounded, it'll be, see, they shouldn't have been in. Why are we letting these small schools in when there's bigger schools that are clearly better than these two? And then Alabama, I could argue they should have been the odd team out with Notre Dame in ahead of them.
Right. The two small school games, those are going to be the ones where it's like the weekend really hinges on those two. If either of those end up being an interesting game, a competitive game, then it feels like it's going to be a really good weekend of football. If those two are blowouts, then tough to have a good weekend, it would feel like, because one of the other two games are likely to be a blowout as well. So, hopefully we'll get some close games and some entertaining competition. Let's switch gears to college basketball, though, Skinny. Cincinnati got smoked by Georgia 84-65, and then announced early in the week that Jizzle James is back on the team, as you were talking about last week on our show, which, I mean, I just didn't quite believe that was actually going to happen this soon, at least. But he is already back, and in fact, he played in their win over Alabama State, an 88-51 win. Baba Miller was incredible in this game, had 26 points, 14 rebounds on 11 of 12 shooting. You were at this game, right?
I did. I went to that game, yes.
How much does, first of all, what was the vibes in Fifth Third Arena like for the team, for Jizzle being back? What was that whole experience like?
Yeah, the vibe initially was just, it felt very mellow. Now most of the fans gave Jizzle a standing ovation when he came in the game. I thought that was a nice touch. I mean, I expected cheers. I wasn't sure I was expecting a standing ovation for him. But, and then that team was just, that's the thing anymore, man. Your favorite team, whoever it is, when they play these games like this, you think, okay, look at the potential. No, those teams are so bad, it doesn't really do anything. Baba Miller's great against Alabama State. I mean, I think he's a really good player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to crap on him specifically, but we'll see what happens with Clemson. We'll see what difference this makes. Listen, I get bringing him back on the one hand. Situations change, right? Like, we're 6-4. He's done all the things we asked him to do, and we need a better player. Kirk Risa sucks, and I said that from Jump Street, and they need somebody better than Kirk Risa. They just do.
How much does Jizzle change their upside?
Our friend Chad Brendel said this yesterday. He was filling in for Mo Egger on 1530. I thought it was a good point. He said, if I were to tell you that you're getting a 16-point per game Big 12 scorer back right now on this roster, would you take it? And the answer is sure, absolutely you take it. It makes you better. Now, I don't know if it makes you good enough to win a lot of Big 12 games. I still don't think they're good enough to do that, to be honest with you. But does it make you better? Sure. I know that you might have some guys in the locker room that didn't like this. It doesn't seem like it. They seem to really enjoy playing with him the other night, like kind of a breath of fresh air. Maybe it is for them too. Like, hey, we got a guy back that can help us, and we need that guy back. You know, maybe it cuts some guy's minute down that does like, well, I just lost my minutes. Well, you probably should have lost your minutes anyway because you stunk. And if that's Creasa, well, too bad. If he's a 5-minute a game backup point guard, that cute for him. Good for you, my guy. I mean,
well, the great thing is he doesn't care. He just wants his check.
Yes, no, that's right.
He's fine not playing.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on that. I mean, I think if I heard this right, he was like -30 in the Georgia game.
No, as long as he's shooting low on the golf course, he's fine. He does not care.
I mean, what was he the other night? I know he had 7 assists in the Alabama State game, but I think he was 1 for 9 from 3 too.
Yeah, but that was most predictable.
Here's the thing: you're not getting the Arizona, West Virginia Kirk Creasa. You're getting the Kirk Creasa that kind of just crapped out at Kentucky.
Right. And I mean, I think we all knew it became very clear a couple of years ago where his career was at in terms of chasing the money and just trying to hang on as long as possible for that. And he's done a great job of earning money.
No, right.
in college.
He technically could have come back for Kentucky last year from the injury, but he milked it. And again, part of me doesn't blame him. At the point that he was going to come back, he would have cost himself a check for this year. Okay, man, you played the system. Good for you.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're very good.
Right. It's a fascinating situation because it feels like if things go well for the Cincinnati team, then it'll look great. Everyone will be happy with Jizzle being back and you'll be fine with it. If things don't go well, though, then it feels like it has real potential for disaster. Like that locker room could really fall apart. You could really lose some respect with the guys in the locker room who maybe have had your back to this point, but you bring a guy back you kicked off the team who was fighting with players before he left the team, all that type of stuff. If this thing goes south, it could really tear apart that locker room potentially.
Yeah.
But it could be the exact opposite too if things go well.
But if you're Wes at the moment, does it matter if the locker room disintegrates because your job's going?
You don't care.
Yeah, you're banking on the upside of this. That's all.
This is the Hail Mary of Hail Marys by Wes, and that's all you're looking for. So I think it makes sense to try it.
Wrong with it. I mean,
I do get a little sick of like the looking out for the well-being of the kid talk when it's like, I mean, guys, have you ever heard of a player getting kicked off a team for a drug problem and then brought back in the same season before?
Well, especially when, if I'm not mistaken, Wes said there was no chance of him returning, right?
Right.
Am I wrong in that? Didn't he say that?
Yes, something along those lines of. I'm pretty sure we should not say he definitely said those words because he said something to that effect of he would not be back. But yeah, I don't want to be super specific about the wording of that because I don't remember exactly what it was. But
6-4 with one tough game left before the Big 12, and then the Big 12 schedule. That's desperate times, man.
It's desperate, but like we said, Wes needs a Hail Mary. So it makes sense for him to try this for sure.
Yeah, that's why I'll go back to Chad's comments. He's right. I mean, you just picked up a guy who averaged 16 points per game down the stretch of the Big 12 last year. Sign me up for that guy. He doesn't make it worse.
If things were working on the offensive end right now, like you had good ball movement, guys were sharing the ball, then I'd worry about bringing a guy like him into the fold. But you don't have that. You need someone who can create and make plays by himself and be a one-on-one player. So go for it.
Offensively, they were embarrassing against Georgia. It was awful to watch.
Yeah, it was not good.
My favorite play was Kerr driving down the lane, trying to throw a blind behind the back pass to a guy cut, and he throws it right to a Georgia guy. At a time where you needed a bucket badly, that's a good time to throw a behind the back pass blindly.
7 figures.
Yeah, buddy.
Xavier beat Missouri State 75-57, but then got blown out by Creighton on Wednesday, 98-57. Biggest loss in Cintas Center history. Skinny, which changed your opinion of Xavier more? Was it the wins over West Virginia and Cincinnati and that kind of resurgence they had for 2 weeks, or the 41-point loss to Creighton?
The 41-point loss to Creighton, because here's why. I don't think West Virginia and Cincinnati are any good. I mean, I'll just be blunt. I don't think they're any good. I'm not sure Creighton's all that good. And they came into your building and did that? Ooh.
I think it was a sobering reminder of where this Xavier team is at talent-wise.
Yes.
And we've all acknowledged that since before the season even started. But that little glimmer of hope that they showed going to that small ball lineup, winning those games that they did. And again, the only two meaningful wins were West Virginia and Cincinnati. And to your point, I think those were two teams that you caught at a good time that aren't very good themselves. And Cincinnati was clearly spiraling a little bit. I don't think anyone felt very good about where they were at confidence-wise going into that game. So it's hard to take much from those wins now after you lose to Creighton by 41 to start Big East play. It's like, definitely sobering.
Going into that game, that was a winnable game on paper in theory, right? Like, okay, you're playing well enough to beat the Creightons at home. I don't think you beat the UConns at home or the St. John's at home, but the Creightons at home, yeah, I think you can beat the Creightons at home. Not only did you not beat the Creighton at home, Creighton destroyed you.
Yeah, and I definitely think Creighton was better than what they had been playing recently, and they shot the lights out in this game, but part of that was because Xavier couldn't defend them at all. I think the one thing that really came out of this game is if Jovan Milicevic can't be a big factor on the offensive end for you, you're really going to pay for it on the defensive end because they torched him. And to the point where you kind of couldn't play him for a lot of stretches. He played under 20 minutes in this game. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. It was what turned this team around, playing that small ball lineup, moving him to the center spot and starting him. But if he falls off and he's not hitting threes and stretching the floor and all of a sudden your offense isn't moving like it was, I don't know that you can keep him on the floor defensively.
I don't either. I'm with you.
NKU beat Bellarmine 80-76 on the road over the weekend, but then lost at home to Oakland 82-77 on Wednesday. Skinny, the Norse have been playing pretty good basketball over the last few weeks, and yet they find themselves 1-2 in Horizon League play. How concerning is that?
Well, I would, and you obviously cover them, so you have better answers than I do, but I'm just going to go off a handful of raw scores of late. You gave up in the high 70s of PFW. You gave up 76 to Bellarmine. You gave up 82 to Oakland the other night. I mean, this seems totally a defensive issue, and why? Because that's been kind of the calling card.
Yeah. And that would be, I think, exactly what Darren Horn would say if he was on this podcast with us right now. Is he keeps saying the defense has to get better. Even when they were winning those games and we were getting him in post-game, conversations on the radio, we're saying like, hey, what a performance by your guys. And he's like, well, we got to get better defensively. This isn't going to be able to go, take us where we want to go this season. And that's shown up in Horizon League games, in these close games. It doesn't make you concerned about whether or not they can compete at the top of the Horizon League, because they had a 15-point lead at halftime on Purdue Fort Wayne on the road, and they certainly had their chances to win down the stretch against Oakland. But one, they're not finding ways to win these close games in conference to start, so that's a little bit concerning. You got to find who are your guys that are going to step up and make plays in those moments and be able to rely on them. And then two, the defense is a real problem, but that one always seems to sort itself out for NKU as the season goes on, and I think a lot of it just has to do with that matchup zone is all communication. It's all talking out chemistry. There aren't a lot of defined rules to it. You really have to understand how your teammates are going to play in certain situations and communicate out. So I think every year they start to turn the corner in mid-January into February, and we start saying oh, how did NKU do this again? And a lot of that is because the defense starts to really hit its stride. So I expect that to get better, but you don't want to put yourself behind the 8 ball in conference play when the 1 seed is so important with the way the tournament is set up.
What are they getting exposed in the zone? Is it just bad rotation, bad?
It's been different things. A lot of teams really like to do a good job of working the ball into either the high post area or somewhere kind of in that mid-level. They get the actions run above the foul line to draw some NKU defenders up, and then they love sending cutters along the baseline and trying to get behind the zone that way with someone sort of sneaking behind them after they've ran action to sort of suck the defense up a little bit. So a lot of it is that, but the other night it was walking away from shooters against Oakland, just leaving shooters that you can't leave, that they're worried about something else that they shouldn't be worried about within the defense. It's you've got to understand what the scouting report is, what your priorities are, and you can't lose focus in big moments.
So that's our secondary defense is a matchup zone. We actually play it pretty doggone well, I think, because we have really good communicators. But I think part of that too is there's also a trust factor. If I go out on this guy and the guy comes to bump me, is where I'm bumping from, is that guy bumping to the right area too? And that there's a trust factor there that sometimes it's hard to it is hard to come by.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even with this year they have a bunch of new players, but even in previous years where they've had a lot of the same players, you expect them to start out better defensively because it's they got guys returning. But it seems like it doesn't matter. You have to have the same 5 guys out there, or same 6, 7 guys out there playing together for an extended period in the same season before it really gets to its peak. So I'm expecting that'll solve itself as the season goes on. I think they'd like to hurry up that process. I'd really like to see, though, some of the lead, the Dan Goretzkers, the LJ Wells, maybe the Donovan O'Days of this team step up in those late game situations and to find a way to get those games won. Because both Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Oakland were there for the taking if they find a way to make one more play on the offensive end, Yeah. Kentucky picked up a big win over Indiana, 72-60 at Rupp over the weekend. They needed this one in the worst way. Mo Diabate was back, 14 points, 12 rebounds, 5 steals. He made a huge impact. Jalen Lowe has been back, but this was the first game that you could actually tell. He had 13 points and 5 rebounds in this one after a couple of weak performances in his first few back. How different would all of this feel right now for Kentucky had they just found a way to win that North Carolina game, Skinny?
I think that's the one. And shown a little more effort against Gonzaga. Gonzaga's better. They were better from Jump Street, but I think some of that was an effort issue because you could see the lack of effort in that game. I think that was disturbing. You take the Louisville loss as, hey, you lost on their floor, battled back, made it a great game. Michigan State's turned out to be a pretty damn good team, and there were some issues in that game too, but still, that you can live with that one. And the Carolina one, that's the one. If you'd have won that game, you're 2-3 going to your last tough non-conference game against St. John's tomorrow on Saturday. If you'd have told me before the season you'd go 3-3 in your 6 big non-conference games, I probably would say, yeah, I think that's probably right. Maybe get to 4-2 if you steal Michigan State, but I never thought they were beating Louisville at Louisville. I never thought they were beating Gonzaga on a neutral. I know Gonzaga lost by 40 to somebody. I think I said that a couple ways. It's an outlier. That's a really, really, really good team. That is a Final Four team, in my opinion. So that one I can live with the loss. It was just the way they lost. I got to be honest, watching that Indiana game, the second half, they guarded like their season depended on it. The problem is, how often are you going to guard that way? Because I just don't think this team has enough offensive firepower. Now, maybe if Jaden Quaintance comes back and he gives you something on the offensive end, maybe that's a lift there. But they don't shoot it great, man. And if not for Jalen Lowe putting his head down and getting to the rim, and that's asking him to do a lot with a bad shoulder a lot of times. So can they guard like they guarded in the second half against Indiana? Because I thought that was fun to watch as a coach. Just their rotations were great. Their effort was great. They closed out hard. They didn't let guys get by them. But can you count on that for whatever it is, 18 SEC games and then Saturday against St. John's all the time? Because you're going to have to.
That's what concerned me coming out of this win. They needed it. It was great to see them play that way and get that win, but they won it with defense. And I don't know how much I trust this team to consistently win by out-defending opposing teams with Mark Pope as their coach. That's never been his MO. I don't think that's really like the makeup of this team necessarily. I think they can be a good defensive team, but I don't expect them to be elite and to continue to win games that way. I don't think Indiana's great. I don't say that to take away from this win because Kentucky needed this win in the worst way. It was a good performance. Like you mentioned, the defense was incredible in the second half. But yeah, I don't know that it inspired a lot of confidence for me going forward with this Kentucky team because I just don't necessarily see a repeatable style of play for them coming out of this game. The one thing that you do have to put a lot of credence into is Mo Diabate and Jalen Lowe played like two impact pieces that were back and healthy and made a major difference for them. So maybe it's as simple as that. Having better players back in the mix was what they needed more than anything. And maybe this will be sort of the turning point for them, but I'm not confident that's the case.
Yeah, I have a guy I coach with at Beechwood High School who grew up in Indiana, and he's a big Indiana fan, and he actually went to the game. And sometime early in the second half, he texted our group and simply said, "This looks like a first-round CBI tournament game." And he's not wrong. I mean, that's kind of what these teams are at the moment.
Well, I'll be honest with you. When the crosstown shootout was going on, I sent out this text a few times to different people that are asking me about the game. Said, if you put Kent State and Akron jerseys on these two teams, no one would know the difference. Like, it's just not talented teams, Cincinnati and Xavier this year.
Right.
All right, let's talk real quick on the Reds. They added to their bullpen on Tuesday by agreeing to a 1-year Major League contract with lefty Caleb Ferguson for $4.5 million. Ferguson threw 65 innings with a 3.58 ERA with the Pirates and the Mariners last season. What are your thoughts on the new addition to the bullpen, Skinny?
That's a solid enough signing, and I think that's how you build bullpens anymore. I mean, you just find capable arms who maybe got a little more upside in them, perhaps. Maybe there's some analytics that say he can get that ERA down to in the low threes and can chew up some innings. I'm fine with that. I think that's the way you build bullpens. And I mean, it feels like you can find a closer, right? Like last year, they threw Pagan in that role and he thrived in it. And so I think the rest of the bullpen you build out with just finding capable, healthy arms.
Yeah, and they needed to add some bullpen arms, so this was a necessary acquisition. It seems like a solid one. They also announced the Hall of Fame class for 2026. It's going to be Aaron Harang, Brandon Phillips, Lou Piniella, and Reggie Sanders. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, who did we all say? I can't remember who we said. I know we both agreed on Brandon Phillips.
I said Brandon Phillips and Aaron Harang for mine.
Yeah, and I said Scott. Did I say Scott Rowland for mine?
I think maybe? Scott Rowland. Yeah, I think you might have. And Brandon Phillips.
I think Lou deserves it. I like Lou to get the honor while he's still around, right? I think that's well deserved. You made the Aaron Harang point, and he did get in. And when you look back at the career of Reggie Sanders, it's defined by that god awful play of his in that 1995 NLCS. But Reggie Sanders was a good player. Yeah,
I mean Reggie Sanders. This was cool for me to see him get in because I wasn't really expecting it necessarily, but he was my guy. I mean, you got to think. 94, 95-ish time period. Yeah. I'm 7, 8, 9 years old. That was like, he was one of the better players on those teams. And I really liked him at that age. So it was cool to see him get in. I have fond memories of him playing despite the play that you just mentioned. But yeah, that's not too many thoughts there. Brandon Phillips was an obvious one. I thought that was automatic and glad that happened.
I mean, Reggie Sanders had tools. I mean, he had power, he could run, he had a great arm, all of those things. I'm trying to find that series because I remember it was just, I felt bad for him because he was a key cog on those teams. I mean, he was an all-star in 95, Rick.
Yes.
He scored 91 runs, drove in 99, stole 36 bases, hit 28 homers. And then Then we get to the postseason, and unfortunately for Reggie Sanders, it didn't go so good. I got to file. I can't find it now. Daggone it. It was in here somewhere. I just remember here we go. Postseason batting. Yeah, against the Atlanta Braves, Reggie Sanders went 2 for 16 and struck out 10 times.
Ooh. Not great, Coach. Not great.
Nope.
All right, let's get into some Ask Skinny Anything.
Do it.
What do you make of Doug Gottlieb stepping away from his radio show to focus full-time on coaching Green Bay?
You think that was an ultimatum?
I don't. I don't. I actually, after hearing him talk about it, it seemed like it was more about his personal life than it was about coaching the basketball team.
Well, quite frankly, that's a lot. I mean, you and I have done radio shows. I did it for 14 years doing morning radio, and it's a grind, man. It's a 3-hour radio show is a grind. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for anybody doing it, feel sorry for when I did it, all those things, but it's a grind. And I was working another full-time job. I was working in the newspaper business, and it was exhausting. And I gave up probably a lot of family stuff. I mean, I was at the point in time where we were raising our daughters, and I probably didn't do as much of the raising as my wife did, for sure. So I can see that. And basketball coaching is a demanding thing as well. Yeah, it's demanding if you're not doing a second job. It's demanding just in general. Now, can it be overblown of the grinding of the tape guy? Sure. I think what we're finding anymore about these coaches is there's no grinding of the tape. It's grinding of co-eds is what it is.
I was wondering how you were about to work that in. I saw it coming, but the wordplay there was better than expected. Well done. Yeah. There's a lot of Sharon Moore action going on.
And the cat down at Ohio U that just got fired.
Isn't that amazing? No wonder you all are sleeping in your office because you're keeping your assistants there overnight with you. Like, it makes a lot more sense now.
Exactly. So but and you know this, Rick, it's a demanding job. I mean, it really is.
It is. And the other thing about it was when he took the job, when they hired him, the comments they made were kind of like, this is going to help recruiting. His national profile as a radio host is going to matter in recruiting. I think they found out that made no impact for them. That's not helping them get teenagers or young 20-year-olds that don't listen to terrestrial radio to begin with, or your podcast likely. So that's not helping him to begin with. And I also think it's going better than maybe he thought it was, or he at least sees it to where he at least sees this year some improvement to where, hey, I might be able to succeed at this thing if I put everything I've got into it. They're 6-7 right now. They've won a couple games in a row here. I think I think it was more so the standpoint of, I like this coaching thing more than I do the radio thing, and I don't want to miss out on more time with my family.
Yeah, and I can't remember what loss. He lost a game a couple of weeks ago where he lost his mind as well. I don't know if you remember is that the one where he threw a chair maybe?
The right state of Robert Morris, one of those two.
But he even said then, he goes, I really like this team. I like the direction this team's heading. And I think that, to your point, that might have been what the light bulb of, if I can put a little more time and effort, energy into this and then have my personal life as well, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. The thing is, like, as much as people want to dunk on him, and understandably so, it's like, I think his players like playing for him. I think like they play hard for him. I don't think he's bad at this, actually. It seems like they're okay right now. So it's going to be interesting to follow going forward. Here's another interesting question that's sort of sports related. Okay. Which pro sports team has the best logo?
That's a great one.
Or do you have any favorites that come to mind?
I don't know why I've always liked the New York Knicks logo. Maybe because that's why I was a young kid growing up. That's kind of the first real pro sport. I lived in New York at that period of time. I was like 7 and 8 years old, and that's kind of my first remembrances of watching games. And maybe that's the history of that gets me with it. But
it's got kind of a classic look to it.
I do like the Knicks logo a lot. Any of them pop to mind for you?
Red Sox.
Yeah, iconic.
Great logo. The Brewers glove, the MB glove logo that they used to have and they've kind of gone back to, I think.
I got to be honest with you. The old Cincinnati Stingers logo from back in the WHA days in the 1970s was a great logo.
I do. Yeah, that is a good logo. There's still some merch floating around the city with that on it. I've seen it. It's good. NBA wise, I've always liked the Heat. I think the Heat has a fantastic logo. Timeless. The Bulls is I don't even know if it's necessarily good. I've just always liked the Bulls logo. That bull head there, it's a cool mascot. It looks good. You see it. Part of it is because I grew up in the Jordan era. So like you see that Bulls logo, you just know exactly what it is. It's so recognizable. NFL, who do you like in the NFL?
The Patriots logo were with the Patriots snapping the football.
That's a good one. You know which one I like that I just think is like timeless classic, and I feel like it's always kind of looked the same as the Lions.
Yeah, yeah.
I know they've had different iterations kind of the line, but it's always kind of looked the same of just like a silver outline of a lion.
And again, this is maybe because I grew up in that era. So the Jets have gone through some iterations of their helmet, but when they just have that Jets thing on the side, I love that. I don't know why I love that. I love that. I wish the Bengals once a year would play with the throwback helmets with just the old thing that says Bengals on the side of the helmet.
So you like it where it says just the words Jets, or where it has like the actual jet?
No, with the words Jets. I don't know why I like it so much, but I do.
Yeah, I don't like that one. The one with the old, like the real old school one with the actual like sort of jumbo looking plane that they used to have.
I remember that.
I kind of liked that old school logo where it said Jets through the plane.
The Dolphins one's a good one.
I always thought when I was a kid, it was kind of like, I don't think you can say what I thought it was now, but like soft, I guess is a good word for it. Like I thought it was a little weak. Okay. So maybe not my favorite in that, but it is like a nice looking logo. It's stood the test of time too. Great colors.
So whoever asked this question, hopefully maybe next week, send us what your favorite logo is.
Yeah. What is the answer? What is the right answer here of like the best logo in sports? I know a lot of people like the interlocking MLB logos, like Yankees, San Francisco.
The Seahawks helmet when they have like all the bird on it.
That's a pretty good one. I never really liked their color change though when they went to like the navy teal lime green stuff. I didn't really like that rebranding.
I didn't either.
Does Skinny play any instruments? And if he could choose to master one with just an hour of practice, which would he choose?
I don't play any instruments. It's terrible. I never really even tried to pick up anything. Like almost every kid I know was forced to play some level of an instrument, and I never was. I guess I got to thank that would have been my mom thing too. She would have been, and my dad was big into me. He's a huge jazz fan. I mean, he had a great jazz record collection. I mean, it wasn't my scene for lack of a better term, but he loved his jazz music. My grandfather played the bass and played it in a band, and he was really talented. I just never did. We have a piano actually sitting in the living room, and I never even fiddled around with that. Can I play chopsticks? Sure, but no. If I had to play one instrument, I think I find drummers cool. I know most people find lead guitarists cool, and great lead guitarists are amazing, but I think drummers are cool.
Yeah, I thought that's the right answer. I would go drummer.
It's a workout, though, man.
Oh, yeah. You sweat back there.
Yep.
When eating tortilla chips, are you a salsa, queso, or guac guy?
Guac is out for any. I just don't do guac on anything. I'd be a mix of. There are times where like we'll go to a Moe's or whatever, and they got great queso. Believe it or not, I think their queso is amazing. That I won't use salsa. I'll just dip it in the queso. But then there's times where I just got to have a good salsa with it. So I'm both of those. I don't do them at the same time. I can't do that. It's got to be either or for me. But yeah, either queso or salsa for me. And sometimes I like the green chili salsa.
Yeah, love the green salsa. Sometimes I like to do exactly the opposite. I like to go like dip of queso and then dip of salsa on the same chip.
I know people do it. For me, I just can't do it that way.
Yeah, but I'll go guac as the answer.
I just don't do it.
I'm a guac guy, and right now that actually brings up a good point. We've had Agave and Rye in the media room at Cintas Center this year.
Really? Amazing.
Their chips and guac are awesome, and it has got
their chips are amazing. Yes,
it's got us media guys in a chokehold. Like
honestly,
we eat it before game. Sometimes I come down at halftime to like get a water. Like I act like I'm getting a water, but I'm really just hitting the chip thing for a couple more. And then after the game, it's still sitting there. So we'll like do our press conference, and then me and Shelby Dermer are always like kind of like, who's gonna be the first one to go over and start getting into the chips again. So it's a real problem right now.
Yeah. Oh, dude, those are so addictively good. You're right.
And their chips are like 3 feet long. Huge, they give you like half a tortilla. It's like, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm going to crumble it everywhere, but it's great.
For my daughter's, this has been 5 or so years ago, my daughter's 21st birthday, we went with, she took some of her friends and we took them all to Agave and Rye for dinner and then went and drank it at Goodfellas down the street. And I think that might have been the first time I had Agave and Rye. And I'm like, oh my God, I could probably just sit here and eat the chips and salsa and hammer margaritas all night long and not even get an entree and be fine with it.
Yeah. It's my favorite media dinner that we've had since I've been covering Xavier. It's really solid. And honestly, I don't love going to Agave and Rye like the restaurant regularly, but getting a couple tacos and those chips before pregame is the best meal we've had. What's your favorite media pregame meal that you can remember?
Santa Clara, we had they had one of the best carving stations. They had a prime rib at a carving station that was the best I've ever had. Better than any steakhouse.
Every game?
What? Yeah, well, the game we were at in Santa Clara when they played, their press box for the 49ers is insane. Like they got 9 trillion different candy bars, and they got a great salad bar, and they got great sides, and they've got 3 or 4 entrees and a carving station. It's insane.
Yeah. Need to hit a game up out there.
I will tell you the one this past weekend in the Paycor Stadium Dining Club was just horrific. It was so
they brought in snow cones with freshly scooped snow from the seats.
So stupid me. I usually try to get there by like 10:30 in my seat in the press box. I get there and realize I grabbed the wrong parking pass from home. Turned all the way back around, went back home. Got to the stadium like 5 till 12. Plenty of time. And so I go up to start picking through the line, and one of my colleagues goes, "Slim pickings today, man." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Just you'll see when you go down the aisle." So I grabbed a sausage link because the sausage links of late have been awful. This one actually tasted different and good for a change, but I only grabbed one. The only thing that was left was to grab some like shredded chicken, and there was no buns left, so I just put the shredded chicken, which I probably would have done anyway, on my plate. There were no sides that were even close to appetizing. So I ended up having a giant Caesar salad to go along with that. And that was it. And then I got done and I'm like, well, that wasn't very filling. And so I went to, I don't know how there was one left. There was one giant cheese Danish left and I killed that.
Nice.
But no bacon, man. I don't know what the rationing of bacon is at this place anymore. It used to be a staple. It was the only thing we all looked forward to was the bacon.
Price of pork went up.
I guess.
Yeah.
But why do we get the sausage links? The crappy sausage links.
That I cannot explain. I'm sorry.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. Is that it?
That's all we got.
All right. Appreciate it very much. We will be back probably maybe next Tuesday because Wednesday's Christmas Eve.
We'll knock out a Tuesday pod.
We'll knock out a Tuesday pod for next week. So we'll wish you a Merry Christmas then. So for Rick Mooring, I'm Richard Skinner. It's been the Skinny Podcast, the weekly Potpourri edition presented by Blake, the Attorney Maislin.